Episode 17 coming at you. We get to watch rated R movies now, and my guest is Xana Cook. I don't know if that was a good segue. I know I already wasted that joke during the intro.
Okay, it was funnier the second time.
Okay, great. But yeah, 17 is a big deal. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even know we were gonna get this far, but thank you for being a part of this. This is not really like an emergency episode, but we had to like pull a few strings and get our calendars linked up because you have an event coming up. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the event, like who you are, what you do, and the ties of the event, because a lot of people will trail off after this, but hopefully we can keep entertaining them and just start saying more stories and bringing more value. But yeah, a quick intro, and then we'll talk about your event, and Martin will put the flyer up for you.
Sounds great.
So this is your Social Unity Project event. And then, yeah, Martin, if you don't mind taking that down for a sec, I want Xana to introduce yourself and then tell us about the event, and then we'll put the flyer up. So hi, Xana. Welcome to Robby's World.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on. Really appreciate it. Yeah. And I love that it was meant to be a surprise for Nicole. And
oh, yeah. Surprise, Nicole.
Surprise. Yes. So thanks for having me on. Yeah. So I do operations at the Social Unity Project, which is a 501c3 anti-racist educational organization. We do anti-racist education, community building, and therapeutics. And then I'm also, in my other all blended life, a psychotherapist. I'm pretty recent to it, got a couple years under my belt. I'm a marriage and family therapist and associate.
Sweet. And I definitely want to talk about that a little bit. So now that we've got the surprise Social Unity Project fundraiser, that's going to be at Breakers. So that's why I'm tied in. I was already tied in because, I was at a lot of the earlier meetings and I want to be at more of the meetings. Mm-hmm. And of course, Nicole is like a dear friend of ours as well. And she was on episode 2, I think. So we're kind of coming full circle and building this community and kind of backing up what we're talking about. But this is it, folks. Just, connecting with people who want to make some positive changes in the world. And Xana's one of those. So, yes, didn't mean to just kind of skip over, you and your profession, but a little bit of background about your life in Pacifica. And then maybe we can talk a little about what's it like being an associate marriage and family therapist.
Sure.
And then I'll try not to make it a session about me and trying to help all my stuff. But maybe you can give us some good tips on, healthy relationships in this crazy world.
That I can do. Yes.
But yeah. How long have you been in Pacifica? I feel like we know each other, but don't. So we'll just dive in a little bit on that.
Yeah. I'm approaching my 38th birthday, and I grew up here in town. Spent most of my 20s living in San Francisco. I was born in Portugal and then brought here really just a month or two old, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. So did high school out here or? I
did. Well, I jumped around a lot. I was one of those kids that was super intelligent and bored.
Nice.
Not to pat myself on the back, but
I'd like to say I was maybe kind of one of those, but no.
Yeah. So I started at Terra Nova, and then I went to School of the Arts in San Francisco. And
that's awesome.
Voice. And then I went back to Terra Nova, and then I went to Oceana.
Oh, so you got a nice little taste of
and then I just skipped the whole senior year entirely. And
nice, because you were already off and good to go, and the parents supported it. What was the biggest difference between Terra Nova and Oceana? I'm curious.
Oceana feels more like college, as a liberal arts style, humanities based.
Yeah, and they're like block scheduling because that's
schedule. Yeah, a lot of enrichment. And less sports, but I felt more at peace there, just as a human, and still didn't quite hook me enough. I just couldn't do the academics yet, so I moved on, and I started cooking professionally.
You say cooking?
Yeah,
that's cool. I think I knew that because you're like, oh, I'll cook for the event, and I was like, no, it's okay.
No, yeah.
And your last name's Cook. I just realized that's so cool.
Yeah. Yes. No, I cooked at Nona's Kitchen in Pedro Point.
Is that the Pedro Point one where the window you can see?
That's I spent about 3 years there. Yeah. Way back in the early 2000s. I think I was 19 when I started that. And then I did private gigs and then my own thing for a while before I completely changed careers.
I was gonna say, but before we move on to like how you got into this career, like what was your favorite thing to cook, or what was like your most exciting thing about just like the culinary you know.
Oh man, I'm
Because for
just
me, it's like building the restaurant, marketing, advertising. Like the food is great, but like it's
yeah,
one unit for me. But you know,
yeah,
folks who I'm trying to get more involved in the kitchen. But yeah, what was the thing that
yeah.
excited you most about
If
that
it was
industry?
for me, it was sourcing as locally as I could, building
Hmm.
relationships with,
That's
like
awesome,
Farmer John in Half Moon Bay, and
Farmer John.
call him up. I'm like, I need a box of Brussels sprouts. He's like, I'm gonna go pick it for you.
Good.
And then I was serving it that night, and just
That's
fresh
cool.
fish and trying to have a health conscious menu. I refused to serve beef. I served bison instead. Made a really
Nice.
good burger. Made my own ketchup, like down to all the
That's cool.
things, like the
I'll have to
mayo. I
pick your
made it.
brain a little bit.
I made it.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And did you go to like training for that, or just more like training on the job, or did you go to like a culinary
I
school?
just walked into it. I
That's
was at
cool.
Nona's. I was looking for a job as a waitress, and he said, "I don't need that, but I need a cook." And 3 years
That's
later,
cool.
I was like running shit.
That's awesome. Congrats. I didn't, I feel like I'm going to, the whole episode, I'm like, I didn't know that about you. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Okay. So yeah, like take me from, fast forward, was there like some college and then marriage, family therapist? Like how did we get to where we're at now?
Yes, culinary industry is really hard on the body, and
Yeah.
I had my daughter, and I really wanted something that was flexible but more of a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
And my wrist broke down, and that was it for me.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends, or, not a lot, but like, yeah, they get what's it
Yeah,
called? Carpal tunnel or whatever. And then,
yeah, it was my TFCC tour,
yeah.
so
And then
it
it's
was
always the elbow. My dad's putting
this,
putting the,
yeah, that
the
wrist. It
plates.
was like
Yeah.
a little cartilage that holds it all together, and that was
Yeah, we're not meant for 40 to 60 hours doing that kind of work.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what
Yeah,
attracted
and
you to therapy?
I just, Luella was an infant, and I decided to just go back to college and take a little class here and there. And then I was still working. And then once my wrist gave out, I was like, all right, this is it. Like, I have
Hmm.
to do this for her. And it was always about trying to do something that would build a better world for her.
That's awesome.
Um, Starting at home and then doing whatever I could to make a direct positive impact. So I see a liberal studies degree. I finished a BA, and then I worked as a substitute teacher all over San Francisco. I worked in a lot of schools that were drastically underfunded, and then the next day I'd be at the fancy school in Nob Hill.
And it's just like completely
Just
different.
seeing the disparity there, and I did that for about a year and a half, and I just recognized that the best way I could make a direct impact was one-on-one when I was doing behavioral support. So
Mhm.
psychology had always been an interest of mine, and I was always a person that saw somebody in pain and wanted to go to them and
Yeah,
find some way to just sit with them. And that was me as a toddler. Like, I was that toddler.
you just kind of had that vibe from the
Yeah,
beginning.
yeah, it's just my thing. It's part of who I am. So I accepted it and got into a master's program, cranked it out. I did the 3-year program in 2.5 years, and I finished at the end of 2019. So,
I think so.
right at the start of the
Did you
pandemic.
walked into the resource center and we were talking like I'm almost done, and I was like that's awesome, and then you like handed me the card, and then it's like
Yeah,
we kind of separated for a while. So that was
yeah.
towards the ends of that training or
Yeah, so that
schooling and
you do we call it a practicum in therapy school. It's sort of like a clinical rotation
okay,
or a traineeship. And so I was at the Integral Counseling Center at Church Street, which is in San Francisco,
okay,
working as a therapist trainee. So I was actively seeing clients, I think, upwards of like 16 people every week,
wow,
plus my courses. And that was the last year of grad school. So when I
okay,
was, and it's sliding scale too. So it depends on your income. You can call them up, and if you have a really low income or no income at all, you can get really quality
yeah, I
therapy
love
for
that.
$20.
And I knew about that because I was in the space, but I actually took advantage of that at the local YMCA when I was waiting to get
Mm,
into Kaiser. I did a sliding scale, and so I paid what I could, and that like helped me kind of. It was that one little lily pad that I needed. So I
yeah,
posted on my Facebook the other day, like going to therapy is cool. I don't know if you saw that, but it got like 175 likes, and then
yeah,
people were messaging me like trying to figure out how to get therapy, and
yeah.
people I would never expect who would needed help getting it, like were messaging and
Mm,
reaching out. And so I've been sharing those resources. So maybe I
yeah.
can put them in touch with you also.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
this could possibly segue into some good news if you're willing to share it, or just a little teaser of the news you got
No,
today.
I'm setting up an office. I rented a space here in town.
And
Where I'm
you're gonna be next door neighbors to Louis Armstrong Training, who
Louis
you're also training
Armstrong
with.
and
So
to Net, to the Crushy. There's another massage
yeah.
therapist in there too, Dylan, and
Mhm.
Donna Blethen, who has been in that building for I think 24 years.
Yeah, it's turning into this like kind of a health and wellness center. The thing we
It
always
is.
talk about that we needed in
Big time.
Pacifica, but little did I know it was going to kind of build around. I had an office there. I was going to originally do podcasts where people would come in, but then COVID kind of
Yeah.
messed that up. So
Yeah.
that's why we're in tank tops today, because we've been training. It's also a heat wave right now. It's just like crazy,
and it's sweltering hot.
Yeah, it's like it's Pacifica and it's like 9 degrees. They even had Rockaway Beach on the news. That's how you know like it's hot in Pacifica when the news comes out to do it. Okay, so what's life going to look like for you for the next 3 to 6 months, and how can people get involved? How can they help as far as your career is concerned? And then we'll touch a little bit more back on Social Unity Project too, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be a slow build. I've got the kiddo at home for the summer, and the clients that I have now, it's all telemedicine. So it's going to be a transition into in-person. And what's being discussed with both my clients and my supervisor is offering therapy outside. There's no reason not to, and it's safer. And if you can go for a walk with your therapist,
Oh man, it seems like common sense, but I feel like that would be so much cooler than like the sitting across from the couch, and that has like a dynamic to it too. So
yeah,
wow,
and
you
there's
just blew my mind just by that. So yes, do it.
of psychology called ecotherapy.
Yeah, just hanging out with a friend, talking, except that friend
It's
knows
about
what to do.
connecting with yourself and with your healing through nature. So imagine going to therapy in San Pedro Valley Park and
Anywhere in Pacifica is therapeutic.
anywhere.
That's why we pay what we do to live here, and that's why we fight so hard to
Very true.
work together to
Very
make it an ideal place to live in.
Yes.
Which there are some different opinions of that. So that
Yeah.
could be a good segue into Social Unity Project. What was the birth of that like? Why did it come to be? And it's about a year now into it, and we can talk about some lessons learned. But yeah, how did you and Nicole link up, and tell me about the birth of Social Unity Project, aka SUP?
Yeah, it was just this meeting of the minds, but it was really her. It was after the Pacifica March, and in response to George Floyd's murder, and just the dual pandemics that we were experiencing, the ongoing pandemic of racism and then COVID. Nicole went to the march and she was inspired to start it, and then reached out to me and said, I feel like I don't want to like pat myself on the back, but she said, I see what you're doing.
Okay. We're here to lift each other up. Sometimes we gotta lift ourselves up.
Yep. She acknowledged me and the work that I've been doing, and asked me if I wanted to start this with her. And then quickly Ray found us through social media. She had been looking for an intersectional organization or group. She was a recent graduate from SU with a communications degree. And then just the three of us have been plugging away every single week without fail since last June.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and getting the 501c3 papers, that was a huge accomplishment. And during a pandemic, things are just slow.
Oh, yeah, everything. You can't. You have to have no expectations during the pandemic, and then things happen and things connect. But you just got to keep on swimming.
And then the attorney says you have one more piece of paper. You're like, ah.
Yeah, and then it takes forever. But that's awesome. Okay, so has there been any like for the casual person who does believe and does align with your mission and wants to know what's going on? Is there like a couple highlights or lessons learned so far within the last year, or stuff that people can kind of look forward to with the work you've been doing? And I know it's like you haven't done anything, but you've done so much, because I do know what you guys have been up to. But yeah, any like 2 to 3 points of just like things people need to know about SUP right now?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's a marathon, not a sprint. If there's any point you want to get involved, come on in. We'll be there chugging away. I think the second is I think we have this idea that social justice is intimidating and we don't know enough. And I think to think of it as a social justice highway. I didn't come up with this, but you don't want people in the fast lane, in the merging lane, because you're just going to knock people off,
Yeah.
right? You want people that can merge onto that highway and can begin to learn and speed up with their understanding and ability to have like how to show up in the world,
Yeah.
to create equanimity and
Yeah.
balance.
That's awesome. I'm a big analogy guy. You probably knew that, but that was good.
Okay.
And like visual, like seeing it, because you see so much online where people are like, they're both sides are angry, both sides are right, both sides are wrong, and I'm just like, if people can just merge. And now you gave me that word, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Which, leads me to point 3 is something that we've been able to get the Pacifica police chief to understand is this is not an attack.
Like, and people do get defensive, especially during these times.
This is not about fighting you. That's not what we do at SOP. We do education, we do community building, and we do therapeutics. We believe in radical love, rebellious love. Sometimes that means we've got boundaries and you need to know about them. But most of the time, it just means that we are accepting you exactly how you are and calling you in, not calling you out.
So I was hoping you were going to say that, because that's like, I say that so much. And is that, did you come up with that, or is that like in a book, or like the calling in instead of calling out? Like,
oh yeah, no, I don't remember the first time I heard that. I think it was in grad school, probably.
But it's so true. It's everything. It's not even like social justice work. It's just like literally how to be a good human being. Is like, I'm big on this like wounded child thing now, and I've been watching a lot of intervention on Vice TV. But there's so much trauma and so much stuff, and people react one or two ways: either hard shell, no one can hurt me, and then that that person needs the radical love you're talking about, or it's the person who just gives so much, and like often the people who have the therapist are the ones that everyone's favorite because they're working on unpacking this and becoming a better person. But yeah, the call in, call out, that just makes so much sense. Just how to operate in life, especially during these crazy times.
Our defenses are there for a reason. We were all conditioned in white supremacist culture, whether we're ready to admit it or not. Like it's in the air we breathe. And so there's no shame in saying I made a mistake or I didn't know that. Or now
that you do know it, what do you want to do with that information? That's awesome. I feel like we could probably go like an hour about just what you just said there. But I look forward to seeing the work that you continue to do. Martin, if you don't mind, can we just put the website up for folks who are watching for Social Unity Project? Yeah, so go to socialunityproject.org. You can donate, you can get involved. And then also there's more information on the event this Saturday. What do you hope to achieve at this event? What can people expect who have already bought tickets? And then the folks that we're trying to get by, I know there's like 15 to 20 tickets left. So yeah, what do we want to tell those folks?
Well, you just expect a good time. I mean, we're going to do, we got a silent auction going. We've got delicious burgers from Breakers, and have some drinks. Just, a little beer and wine, or whatever you want, soda, tea, right?
Yeah, we got you. Hot chocolate, maybe. It might be really hot, so maybe not hot chocolate.
It's just a meal and an event to meet other community members who may have things that you're aligned with. Silent auction is going to be awesome, and we're going to share a little bit about the work that we've been doing. Able to hear us talk about our experiences, in having really difficult conversations with our Pacifica Police Department, and the progress that we've made in that. Learn more about, opportunities for being in Nicole's program, which is coming up. I'm just going to do an 8-week program called Uprooted. It's really, about learning and what it is to live in a racialized existence, and I'm sure she'll have a lot more to say about that on Saturday. So.
Yeah, and we'll definitely give her the place. I want to have it's so crazy because I want to have like the people who are already on the podcast come back and talk about more, but then I want to get more people on the podcast. So this is kind of the hybrid. And then I've already I'm so glad that you took the time to do this. We got about like 5 to 7 minutes left. If we could circle back more to like the family therapy and marriage, what's like the most common things that people come in for, or is there something that I should definitely ask you that maybe a couple or someone who's thinking about getting into therapy or has stuff on their mind that might be overthinking the situation, like, yeah, can you just kind of give me like something that you grasp onto as far as that? And then I can maybe ask you a few questions.
Yeah. I think for me, the most important thing in therapy is finding the right fit. You know, there's going to be therapists out there that aren't a good fit for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, don't just go with the first person, and give it like 3 sessions. Like, if this person's not working for me, move on, ask them for a referral.
So it really is kind of like dating. Like, you go out for that first initial drink, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a relationship, and
No, it
I'm
really is.
a therapist, and the relationship is the therapy. Like, how we come to understand each other and communicate, and how the more I learn about my client, the better I am at supporting them in meeting them where they're at. And, you know, sometimes we come into therapy for really deep-seated trauma, you know, things that happened in childhood, or, you know, traumatic events as adults. And sometimes we come into therapy because we just need a little bit of support, and we need a space where we can just talk for an hour and have someone just listen empathetically and just be with us. And we don't really get that very much in the world.
We really don't.
It's just going to listen to you and really hear you. And
how are you so good at that though? Because like, I'm working on being a better listener, and I know I kind of cut you off here and there, but like, my biggest thing is like, you know, listening, validating, you know, not trying to gaslight, blame shift, all these, you know, like new terms that I'm learning through my own relationship, you know, with my girlfriend, and also outside of our relationship. But yeah, how can people be a better listener? Or why are you so good at it?
Listen actively. You know, when you're listening, often there's you're sort of hearing, but you're not really listening. You're already with your own mind thinking about the one thing they said a moment ago that you want to respond to, instead of staying present with what the person's saying. And learn to ask questions when you don't understand. I think
that's a big one.
Yeah, like slowing it down, I think, is really helpful too. And just take breaths. Just breathe.
It's such common sense, but you're like so like spot on.
Yeah, like anxiety is all up here, right? And we forget to breathe.
Yeah,
we sort of shut off. And it's, if you can just take a deep belly breath, your entire system, your parasympathetic nervous system will come online, which is rest and digest, and settle.
That's half the battle right there for me.
Connect with the outside world and actually take in what the other person's saying.
That's awesome. I was able to take a few like stress anxiety classes before COVID while I was waiting for my therapist. And so, yeah, a lot of it went into like the science of things, like the breathing exercises to calm your brain down, and, you know, like the belly breath. That's a new one, but it makes sense. Yeah, it's like those deep breaths. It's like that you are more than your thoughts. So, right. So you have to like tell your body, like, calm down. But I've been involved in some like very heavy, very serious conversations, of course, in personal life, but then, you know, in business. But you know, I own the business with my dad, so it flicks back and forth between father, son, owner, and it just oh man, I think I may need to pay you to just sit in the corner sometimes, and you and Nicole just like her with the drum, and you'd be like, all right, now you guys got to do your belly breaths. But I mean, we always come back; it's always love. But any tips on that, like just dealing with high level, intense decisions and our own different traumas that we're maybe not expressing, you know, with family members.
You know, your intuition is your most powerful tool. And like that, we spend so much of our time in our head and so little time connected to the rest of us. And I think that, especially when it comes to family, we can get so activated because we're not in the present moment. We're with that thing that happened 5 years ago or 20 years ago.
That they're not thinking about, or a different angle of that.
Our body remembers that. Right? Our body remembers how that feels, but our mind is like trying to switch between the two.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do to support yourself in just shuttling like away from the mind and move your awareness. What I mean is by shuttling is just like shuttle your awareness to something else, whether it's something outside of you, just notice 5 things in the room, or just try to clue in on some area of your body that's holding tension and just like acknowledge the tension and ask it to release, and then return to the conversation. Like there's nothing wrong in taking a breath. And
that's like grounding yourself, getting more present, I guess would be the goal.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything else Go ahead.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Life is messy sometimes.
I feel like that's a lot of
Yeah.
different things, you know. I don't want to throw my dad, you know, it's just, you know, we're open, but yeah, like I feel like some of his like triggers where are like the opposite of mine. So I need to like respect it. Like, okay, why is he acting this way, or why am I acting this way? But we're not doing that like out, you know, we're just lashing out at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm exploring all of this. So I really appreciate you kind of dealing with me jumping all around. There's
No
a couple
problem.
minutes left. Is there anything else I should have asked you about, or anything else that you want to share? Of course, I got to have you back, you know, in a couple months to check in to see how life's going, and we'll update everyone on how wonderful the event was. But yeah, is there anything else that's on your mind that you think is important for people to know today, tomorrow, for the rest of the world?
I think, you know, summer's starting. We're California's opening back up. There's going to be a lot of rush, and I think a lot of us are happy about that, and a lot of us are really scared. So just like it's been this whole time, don't forget to be kind to yourself. Don't forget to be kind to other people. Like, you never know what someone else is going through. And please remember that at every moment of every day, you are doing the very best that you can. Even when you're showing up at your worst, that's the best you had in that moment. And there's no shame in that.
I need you to like record these, and people would just fall asleep. You and Nicole like have the best voices and the best words.
Yeah.
Like we really need to look into that.
Tracks from both
Yeah,
of
and
us.
then you're just like reading kid stories, but they're actually adult stories, and you're just like,
Yeah.
today Robby went to school and he tried his. Well, I guess not school. I still have dreams about going to school. Actually, what's up with that? Like high school, and are those like?
I haven't had one of those in a long time, but I did have my
serving dream. What was it? Workout.
I did have my first workout dream.
I have dreams about doing push-ups because those are like the bane of my existence.
It was the bench press, and one arm was like, "Let's do it." The other arm was like, "Okay."
That was your dream. Yeah,
it was a dream. Yes.
And then how did you do the next day?
And then I went the next day and bench pressed 75 pounds. Like,
yeah, like nothing.
Oh, there's my limit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, not like nothing, but there was my limit.
Yeah, we did an assessment. We did our assessment with Lewis, and so he's like, "All right, last time you did 5 push-ups." I was like, "What?" But I remember those 5 push-ups being like, I didn't know where to go, what to do. So yeah, it was brutal. But you know what? We covered a lot of stuff, and I'm smiling. Like, you can see my cheeks are red, and it's not just you know, from the sun. So thank you so much for doing this. I want to go ahead and shout out PCT, Pacific Coast Television. So Martin, thank you for handling. This is Robby's World.tv. I forgot I'm supposed to say that too. It's so funny because Robby's World is not about Robby. That's the whole point. But there's Pacific Coast.tv. And if you want to start your own podcast, maybe for SUP or anything else, yeah, hit them up. They want to stay busy. They want to do their thing. We'll close this out maybe how in like a typical like Nicole or Marisol. How about one word to describe how you're feeling right now about the podcast and about life? And then Martin's going to roll that pretty little outro.
Oh, just one word? I'm feeling... Oh,
I'll give you 3. I don't know.
Joyful.
Whatever. Joyful.
Yeah.
I'm joyful too. You're a very joyful person, and I'm sure your mom's very joyful. I'm going to link up with her, and then we'll share more details about that. But yeah, #Unmasked Pacifica coming soon, everyone. And this is the beautiful outro I talked about. Xana, thank you so much for being on. I'll send you all the information as soon as everything's posted. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I will see you next Saturday.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Peace.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.